Dzhokhar Tsarnaev could be sentenced to death for his part in the Boston Marathon bombings. Juries around the country have not always sent convicted terrorists like Tsarnaev to death row. One man gives us an insider's perspective on this. He is John Miller, the Deputy Commissioner of Intelligence and Counterterrorism for the New York City Police Department. He is also our former senior correspondent here. Good morning.
Good morning, Charlie.
So give us a sense of the context of terrorists facing the death penalty and the choices that are made.
Well, if you look at our history, we're a little diverse on this. If you look at Timothy McVeigh in Oklahoma City, that was a trial in Denver, not Oklahoma City, where he was sentenced to death. On the other hand, if you look at Osama bin Laden's crew that blew up the embassies in East Africa on his orders, they were convicted in a federal trial in New York, and at the death penalty phase, the jury here spared them. So part of the consideration is likely to do with, did it happen far away or, you know, right here on U.S. soil in the city where it's being tried? That's going to be a factor in Boston. But the other part of it is juries in the United States are still somewhat tentative about the death penalty. One of the things they raise in the paper today is don't give him what he wants. It's what the lawyer argued in the closing argument. I would be less concerned with what Dzhokhar Tsarnaev wants. I would be concerned with what that might mean to groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda, who would use that to promote his martyrdom for the cause.
So don't let him be a martyr by putting him in prison for life.
I think it's one of those things that you have to consider. But at the end of the day, the jury should follow the standard of the law, and that's what the judge is going to tell them to do.
And they've been listening to the evidence and everything else.
Yeah. You also have a jury in Massachusetts, which is, I mean, there's more Catholics in Massachusetts than any other state in the country. I think it's about 45%. And there hasn't been anyone executed in Massachusetts since like 60 years. So that weighs on it too, right? I mean, you have a population of people that don't hand down the death penalty.
I think at the end of the day, what they're going to act on is a legal instruction. But I think you can't go into the penalty phase in a death case and not make a somewhat emotional decision.
As Charlie and Don pointed out earlier, it only takes one juror to vote against, and the death penalty doesn't happen. John, can we ask you about this video from South Carolina?
Sure.
That's gotten so much attention now this week. It is graphic. It looks pretty awful. What do you make of it?
Well, I think that the video is one of those things where, you know, in society we have a compact, and that is we ask the police to go in harm's way, to get hurt, to get killed. And in return for that, part of the compact is when they come back with their account of what happened, we give them the benefit of the doubt. I think this video reversed this tide very quickly, which was there was one set of facts that emerged on paper. And when the video comes out, you go from a investigation into whether a shooting was justified into what was clearly the crime of murder, which is what they charged, and then they took the additional step of firing him. I think that the second issue with the video is this is going to cast a pall for a time, because people are going to come back to this video when they hear a police account of things, and they're going to say, but what about that case? And I think that's going to cost police officers across the country.
And the message from you to them is every case is different.
Well, every case is different, and by and large, my experience in these investigations is two things. Number one, the first story is never right, because there's confusion, there's different perspectives, so the facts will always change a little, but not as dramatically as it did in this case, and I think that's problematic.
What are your instructions to your officers if, in fact, someone is fleeing and has their back to you?
So that is crystal clear. I also have to frame New York City in the context of this is the largest police department in the United States in terms of numbers. It, per capita, statistically fires its gun less than any other major city in the country. That is a rate that has declined steadily over 20 years. It shoots less people, kills less people. It's a department of extraordinary firearms discipline. Now, getting to the heart of the matter, if I was in the police academy, what they teach in New York, what they taught me in Los Angeles when I went through their academy was, if somebody is running away, they don't pose a threat to you. Now, how do you turn that around? If you're in a mall and somebody has shot 20 people and you confront them in the food court with a gun and they take a shot at you and then they turn and flee, that's a different consideration, because you can calculate in that person, if they get away with that rifle, is going to shoot more people, and that you need to shoot a fleeing felon in order to save others. This is clearly not that situation.
What was he supposed to do, run after him?
That's what you're supposed to do. If you have a fleeing suspect, and remember, we don't have a fleeing felon here as far as we know. We have a fleeing guy with a broken tail light. You are supposed to chase that person down and use whatever force is necessary at that point. And there's a continuum of those things. He's tried the taser, but you know, once you chase that person down, that continuum starts over again if he's unarmed.
All right, John Miller, good to see you. Thank you for being here.
Good to be back. Nice to see you all.
Yeah. Nice to
You look very comfortable in that chair.
You know you're always welcome here.
Well, save it.
Take note of that, boys.
Yeah.
This chair right here?
Yes.
Okay.